What is up, everybody? Well, you're tilted here, and as you probably know, most of you at least, Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 is finally coming to us October 25th. So, incredibly exciting. Right, we've been waiting on this for years, and I figured that there might be a lot of people kind of on the fence about whether or not they're interested in the game. So, I just wanted to go through 5 reasons to be hyped. Now, this is my list. Other people will have their own list. But in my opinion, this is 5 reasons why everybody who enjoys MMOs should be excited about this game. So let's get started. Reason number 1, Reactive World. So, Ashes of Creation is aiming to be more of a sandbox MMO and not a theme park MMO, which means the game is open for players to interact with, and it's focused more on giving us ways to interact with each other than it is setting us on a path and giving us content or rides to experience, right? So everything's driven by players. Most things are driven by players. Caravans, sieges, world PvP, the corruption versus bounty hunter system, even the artisan system, because you have limits to which players can do which things, so you have to go out and find other players that are good at your class or what you need, I mean. So everything is reactive based on what you need or what other players need, and then everybody comes together in different ways. So in that way, I think it's going to be a lot more fun and rewarding than other MMOs such as World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, where you just log in, you do the new content, you do the new dungeon, you do the new raid, and then you're bored again. So I think it's going to end up, if they do it correctly, giving us a lot more bang for our buck, so to speak. And there's many ways that this can happen. I mentioned a few of them, but the node system, right? What you do directly affects your node. The choices you make as a community directly affects your node. The nodes around you can affect your node. The economy is going to be almost entirely driven by the players. Limited resources, which we'll get to. There's just so many ways, so many systems that are going to interact with each other. Reason number 2, risk versus reward. Now, I know that this is a controversial topic, but hear me out. The limited resources and the risk versus reward model that they're going with leads to interesting gameplay and reasons to log in. For example, because there's limited resources out there, it gives players a reason to fight each other. It adds some stress to going out into the world because you're not sure what you're going to run into. And because nodes are limited by the surrounding nodes, the neighboring nodes, it gives you a reason to want to do a node war because you want your node to get bigger, so you have to go take down that other node. Because you can't just transfer your bank stuff to whatever node you want to and sell it wherever, you have to do caravans. Well, other people want those resources as well, right? So people are going to attack your caravan. So the risk versus reward model, while it can be frustrating, and we'll see when we get into the game, it gives players a reason to interact with each other. If there was no risk versus reward and everybody could do anything, the game would get old quickly. Think about almost any other MMO out there. You can level up every crafting class, every gathering class. You have no reason to go buy stuff that other characters want or are making, because you can just make it yourself. You have no reason to spend your money on certain materials because you can just go gather them yourself. And then because everybody can gather them, nothing is special. So I think the risk versus reward element, the developers have said it themselves, it's integral to the game, and I think it is one of the biggest reasons to be hyped. Number 3 is just the pure variety of content. So they have PvE with raids, dungeons, world bosses, exploration. Then they have PvP, They have instance PvP like arenas, they have open world PvP, you got caravans, you got guild wars, you got node wars, you got crafting, which includes gathering, processing, and crafting classes. And then you have housing, you got the node housing with apartments and such. You got castles, you got freeholds, and you even got naval combat. And that's not even all of it. That's just the stuff that I could remember off the top of my head. I mean, there is a ton of systems being put into place. It won't all be there when Alpha 2 launches, but there is a ton of system being put into place. And so there's something for everybody. But the key is that the variety of content mixed with the reactive world and the risk versus reward amplifies it and gives you a reason to log in. The dungeons and world bosses aren't just fun to kill once and then I get my sword and I move on. We need those materials, or we need that area that's in to gather important stuff so that we can craft with it or sell it or whatever it might be. So, variety of content, huge plus. Obviously, a lot of MMOs struggle with this. Hopefully, Ashes being a sandbox won't struggle as much because it's more about player interaction and we kind of make our own story. But, I mean, MMOs go through content droughts all the time, so maybe Ashes of Creation can kind of ease those with its model. Number 4 is the environment and graphics. So, they've switched to Unreal Engine 5 last year, and man, the game is just beautiful. I mean, every time they had a live stream, I was gushing about what it looks insane. In my opinion, it is the perfect blend of realism and fantasy. You have games like Final Fantasy XIV, there's the bigger ones, where it's very realistic, almost to the point where it's hard to make interesting armor sets. And then you have WoW on the other end of that, where things look kind of ridiculous because they're just so bulky and cartoony. And I think Ashes is bringing a perfect blend, and it looks amazing. And I want to be in that world, and it helps with the immersion. It helps me feel like I'm a part of it. It makes me want to go earn new armor sets. It makes me want to go craft new things because I want to see what it looks like on my character. And then, I mean, not only my character, but just the environment itself, the landscape. So you got land, sea, desert, jungles, plains, mountains, and then even the architecture of your nodes is going to change based on who contributed the most. If you got a bunch of dwarves in your node and they were out there wrecking everything and adding all the experience to the node, you're going to have a dwarven settlement. If it was, humans, or if it was orcs, you're going to have a human or orcish settlement. So it's got to be pretty to look at. I mean, graphics, while they're not the most important thing, are definitely important, especially long term if you're going to keep playing a game. You want it to be nice to look at. You want to have people excited to be in the world. And I think that they have nailed it. Number 5 is the developer involvement and transparency throughout this entire process. I mean, it is really something special that they have done with the monthly updates, the forums, the questions, the dev discussions. I mean, it might have slowed the process, or maybe it just seems like it slowed the process because we're watching it happen real time instead of it just disappearing for years and then showing back up when it's ready. But I think the game and the players are getting so much more attention and care that it needs because of that. The developers are getting our feedback every single step of the way, so hopefully when the game comes out, they don't miss the mark as bad as some of these other games. I mean, can't even count the number of games that have had a terrible launch, where it comes out and you're just like, what were the developers thinking? Did they even play their game? What is going on? How did we get to this point? And hopefully, with the way how involved that the Intrepid team has been, we can avoid a lot of that. And every step of the way, they're asking those questions. They're not afraid of feedback. They're not afraid to show what's going on. And the hope is that it pays off long term. And that's it. I mean, those are my five reasons to be hyped for Ashes of Creation. Very simple list, but I don't think the reasons to be excited have to be complex. I mean, there are basics to hit, and I think the team's hitting them, and I think they're knocking them out of the park. Granted, game's not out yet. Alpha 2's not even out yet. You know, we could log in on October 25th, and it be nothing like we're shown, but the hype is real. So if you like this video, please, you know, comment, subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you next time.